Hello, everybody. It's your girl, Angie Clay, and I'm back again with my interviews. And you know that I am really concerned about how people are handling their self-care, especially during times of uncertainty. And so I've been reaching out to a lot of my friends, professionals, people who are building businesses, are in the profession, working front lines with COVID-19. And so I wanted to make sure that I share that knowledge with you. So today I have my friend Alexea Gaffney with us. Gaffney, sorry. We practiced that before we started.
Gaffney.
So
It's all good. It's all perfect.
okay, she's not going to get me. And so I wanted to introduce you to her. She's a medical doctor who's been working the front lines since the world started really unraveling at a rapid rate. And on top of that, she's a mother. In addition to being a mother and a doctor, she's a facilitator, and she also is an author. So we're going to talk to her today. And so welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to sit down and talk with me.
So thank you so much for having me on. Just to reiterate, I'm Dr. Alexea Gaffney. I'm a triple board certified infectious disease physician, mom, speaker, author, coach, and breast cancer survivor thriver. I create healing pathways so that others experience total health and wellness, mind, body, and spirit. It is such an interesting way how we got to know one another and how we got to the point of having this conversation. And the way Angie and I linked up is just through both of our commitments to other people's wellness, above and beyond health. Everybody can't be a healthcare provider, but I think everybody has the ability to support others in their wellness journey. And so we met in the aspect of journaling for health, wellness, and self-care. So I'm super excited to be here. I'm super excited for us to have this conversation and for this information to land in the hearts and minds of the people who need it the most.
Yeah, thank you so much. So usually I start off because I get up super early for me, probably not so much early for you, so you're on the East Coast. I always ask people, are they drinking tea or coffee? What do you got in your cup, in your mug this morning?
In my mug, which I do have it right here, I'm on to my water now. This morning I had a nice cup of hot coffee, which I have every single day. I do not speak to people until I've been caffeinated, and then I drink tea throughout the day. So usually like a green tea or lemongrass tea or a soursop tea. Always full of fresh lemon. I consume a whole lemon every single day by way of my tea and just eating it. But yeah, right now, just water. I'm someone who is perpetually dehydrated. Lack of self-care there.
I cannot say a word because, yes,
So I have to make a conscious effort to drink enough water every day. So right now I'm hydrating after my morning cup of coffee.
Yes. That's a never-ending battle with me too. So hydrate. So tell us a little bit about your field of expertise and how that looks for you, like day to day.
Yeah, so I am an infectious disease specialist. I'm board certified and trained in infectious disease for the adult patient, so 18 and up. But I'm also a trained internal medicine doctor and pediatrician, and I'm board certified in both of those specialties. As an infectious disease specialist, I primarily manage outpatient adults with any number of acute or chronic infectious conditions, as well as workup conditions that may or may not actually be infections, but present very similar to infections. So we call them mimickers of infectious disease. My primary practice is all outpatient. I'm someone, even though I went to med school and trained primarily in the hospital, I don't like the stress of the hospital environment. I could never be like an emergency room doctor or a trauma surgeon. I like to have a controlled environment. I want to know who's coming, what time, and what do they need from me. And being a consultant allows that. There's always a clinical question that another provider or the patient is asking you. And so you know exactly why the person is coming in. But COVID pulled me back into the hospital environment and back into hospital consultation, because our infectious disease teams were becoming so overwhelmed with the number of new patients pouring into the hospital. They went from 2 teams that were getting maybe 10 or 15 new consults a day, or consults and follow-ups, to getting 60 to 80 consults per day because of COVID. So I transitioned back into hospital medicine or inpatient medicine during the COVID crisis. But that was interesting for me because I'm a breast cancer survivor. So I fall into that list of high risk or immunocompromised people. And although my risk is not the same as it was when I was having chemotherapy or radiation therapy, it's not back to baseline. So my health is not considered equal to a 39-year-old woman who does not have the same health history. So even before I was asked to return to inpatient care, my family, knowing who I am and how I show up for other people, that I'm just a giver and a helper of people, they were like, "You're not going back into that hospital, are you?" Because there was a lot of calls for doctors to volunteer to go to the hospital. So people who were in subspecialties that their offices were maybe closing, can you now come be on the front lines and help us out? Doctors were asked to come out of retirement to make hospital rounds and take care of COVID patients, and man testing sites and things like that. And medical students were actually graduated early so that they could join the front lines as well. And then there was this language of deployment. Well, if we don't have enough doctors, we're just going to start pulling people as we need them. So my family is like, "You're not going to go in that hospital, are you?" And I'm like, well, if they need me, and as long as I have the appropriate personal protective equipment, of course, I'm not going to hold on to all of this knowledge and training that is for a situation exactly like this. But understanding my health situation, because I was very transparent with that, with the folks at the hospital and the folks in my community medical network. When the question was asked, well, can Lexi join the infectious disease hospital team, the immediate response was yes, but she's immunocompromised and you have to protect her health. So I got to do what I love to do, which is practice infectious diseases and help my colleagues with challenging cases. And I got to do it still from the somewhat safety of my office. And I'm saying somewhat because even though I was doing virtual hospital rounds, I still continued to see patients physically in my office. And I saw plenty of COVID patients who did not recognize that their symptoms were COVID symptoms, and they just strolled on in. Or people just kind of disregarded, like, I want to see Dr. Gaffney. I don't care what the sign on the door says. I'm still coming in here and getting seen. And that's just, people be people, and, they it's just our human nature to protect and preserve self. And we kind of just make that, we disconnect that this impacts somebody else. And so I had people who undoubtedly had COVID just stroll into the office, insist on being seen, and, put on all of the gear, go in and make an assessment, make a plan that avoids them going out and spreading the virus to even more people before they get back home or ultimately get to the hospital where they really need to be. So it was so challenging and so layered.
Right. Especially when people are scared, they're just like, it's their rational thinking, like, out the window. It's like, I need to see you. This is life and death. Like, get over here. You know what I mean? Like, they don't think about the other.
No, we get tunnel vision, about things. And so someone who is sick and having trouble breathing and having a fever and seeing all of this stuff in the news is not present to, well, dang, if I go in here and I get Dr. Gaffney sick, she's not going to be able to take care of the rest of my family that she takes care of. She's not going to be able to take care of all of her other patients, her own family. And people don't perceive or predict the trickle-down effect. If I come in and I spread my infection to her or her staff, or she takes it home to her family. And, that's part of how we are in this pandemic situation, is that, a lot of folks just couldn't see or perceive or fathom how big of a deal this was. And we tend to just be very self-centered as humans. And so people's inability to look beyond themselves is a contributory factor to, how this big, bad, nasty little invisible enemy took the world by storm and still has a serious hold on all of us.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yes. So during all of this, taking care of other people, making sure that they're safe, what were you doing for yourself, for your wellness, for your mental stability? Like, how did you and continue to take care of yourself?
So I am very clear on that I have to take care of my mind, my body, and my spirit. And lately I'm resolving that. I'm actually off from work because I took some personal health days extending beyond a recent surgery I had. I could have returned to work 2 days after my surgery. And I said to myself and to my office manager, I need some mental health days. I need time to recover. Like, I'm not even worried about the surgery itself. I'm worried that mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, I have been bogged down by this COVID crisis, day-to-day life as a physician with COVID piled on top of it, the stress of trying to homeschool a third grader who's frustrated that her mother is not home and you're taking care of everybody but me, is her perception. And so journaling has been huge, huge, huge for me. When I got sick, I immediately entered into the practice of gratitude and choosing joy, understanding that there's not much to be happy about when you're having, mutilating but life-saving surgeries, when you're going through chemotherapy, radiation, and your whole world is turned upside down. So I'm very much into the practice of choosing joy and gratitude. And so I still start every single day that way. And many days I had to remind myself that I get to go to work. I get to go to work because so many people's livelihoods were snatched from them.
Right.
Or they got to work, but they had to work from home while homeschooling or in a house full of people, under highly stressful circumstances. And I got to go to my office every day. I got to leave my house every single day. And that was taken away from the vast majority of people. So regardless of the risk of people coming in or being pulled in 3 different directions, seeing hospital patients, office patients, inside the office patients on a telehealth platform, I still got to go to work every day. And so every single day I gave gratitude for that. Just making sure to nourish my body, which I always have done. And then exercising, making sure I get out and go for a walk, committing to either taking a pause in the workday, or like a pause between when all of the office patients and the hospital consults are done and when I start calling people back and going over labs, to just go outside and get fresh air and see the sunshine, or coming home and doing a yoga workout, doing guided meditation on occasion. I used to do it every single day when I was homesick. I do it less so, but doing deep breathing exercises. I mean, like all day, every day, being in the practice of self-care, saying, you know what, guys, turn off the phones. Please don't interrupt me. I just need 15 minutes of silence. I just need to breathe. And if you're not in the practice of doing those things, it won't occur to you to do it when you feel like your head is going to explode. It's only that I've already been into the practice that I can weave all of these little but very big aspects of self-care in throughout my day.
The self-care is healthcare, in order to like really have a lot of preventative measures in place, is definitely taking care of yourself on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
So What advice would you give people as they start to navigate? I know some people don't like the word the new normal.
Yeah,
A lot of people don't like change, and people like things to stay the same, but
yeah,
the world is always changing regardless if you like it or not.
yep.
So as they start to go back to work and start to navigate in these new waters, any suggestions or tips that you would
Yeah. So my reminder is that people stay vigilant. You know, we cannot get lax, or we can't pretend that this pandemic is over. It's not. And it's very easy to forget about it because it's this invisible enemy. And when we begin to return to office spaces and when we begin to return to department stores, we still need to be mindful that we're still going with mask on. Gloves, if that's what you did. I don't necessarily subscribe to the whole glove thing, but that's a whole different podcast.
yeah.
But resisting the urge to, reach out and hug people, or resisting the urge to like stand nose to nose and close and personal with people who are outside of our homes. We're not going back to normal. And we have to accept that this is a new normal. And until we get comfortable with the idea that masks are going to be a part of our daily lives, and that not shaking hands is going to be a part of business, and that there will be barriers and partitions between us, it's just not going to work. So I think people have to let down their resistance. There is power in acceptance of a thing. And I think that when we don't resist something, it makes it a little easier to get through than when we're in constant resistance. Could you imagine you're so resistant that you're going to try to go everywhere without a mask, and then you find that, well, I can't go grocery shopping and get the things that I need for my kids or my family or myself because they won't let me in the grocery store without a mask. Well, in the absence of that resistance, if you just had a mask on, you could go in and just get what you need. It might be uncomfortable to be in the mask, but at least you didn't have to fight to get through the door now. So avoid resisting what's coming and what is going to be with us for a very long time, and just be in the acceptance that we don't know everything. The experts are learning as we go. So we don't have to know everything about this or even fully understand everything about this to be able to do the things that keep us safe and healthy. Our health is our wealth. And if you're someone who is not quote unquote healthy, right, because that's the absence of disease, and I think like 1 in 3 people have some sort of chronic or acute medical condition, but we all, no matter what our health status is, can achieve wellness. So if you haven't already begun to weave in wellness activities in your life, please do start them. Please do figure out how you're going to alleviate and manage stress, because it is going to be there. It's always been there. And now there's an added layer of stress and anxiety in all of our lives. So we just have to be accepting of that and just willing to do the work that keeps us in a healthy mind, body, spirit.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So true. So tell the world, like, if people have questions or wanting to connect with you, is there a way that they can do so?
Absolutely. So I am committed to everybody living a life of total health and wellness. And so I shared my breast cancer journey, which is ongoing. I always have shared my expertise as a physician and an infectious disease expert with my community and with the world through my social media platforms. So you can follow me at Dr. Alexea, that's DRALEXEA, and that's on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And I just launched my website, and I have some health and wellness products coming soon. So my website is dralexea.com. So DRALEXEA.com. I've been blogging about health and wellness, and I'll be sharing recipes, as well as you can see what I've been up to in terms of my stance for everybody experiencing a life of health and wellness.
Wow, look at you. Ooh, one day we're going to see you sitting on Dr. Oz. And I'll be like, well, she's not
Listen,
on my show first.
that's right. Goals, goals.
Yeah, hopefully I can be in the audience. Well,
There you go.
feet away from everybody. So awesome. Thank you so much. Wow, you are doing a lot of great things. So
Thank
such
you.
a great example for your daughter.
Yeah, I feel bad for her sometimes. I'm like, oh God, she had to have an overachieving mama. That's a lot to live up to.
Yeah, the things that we take for granted as kids, as we get older, we like kind of look back and we appreciate those things. You know?
Mm-hmm.
We used to tell I used to tell my mom, I can't wait till I turn 18 and I'm be on my own, get my own apartment. And then when I had those bills, I was like, actually,
Right. What
I
were we
like being
thinking?
at home and like not paying anything.
Yeah. It's so funny. I was so scary as a child.
Uh-huh.
And as a teenager, like everything made me so nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was never one to be rushing to adulthood. And
Wow.
even when I was a full-blown adult, career evolving, married, pregnant, I always felt like I was practicing and I could just lean back on my parents and call them. And then when Kennedy was born, I was like, oh my God, the dress rehearsal is over. This is it. I'm adulting for real now. Oh my God. But all of that to say, like, do not, no matter how old you are or how young you are, like, do not be afraid to lean on others and to reach back and ask for help. For all of my anxiety, I was someone who was like, I'm the helper, I help other people, and so I'm not allowed to ask for help. And so I would be so busy doing for everybody else. It wasn't until my hand was forced with the cancer that I got really comfortable with being vulnerable and asking for help outside of like parenting, like, can you babysit, or, how do I do this, or how do I manage that? I just was someone who was like, I don't get help, I help people. And so that's another thing that is like a superpower that we can all use, is to flex that muscle of vulnerability and to reach out for help. That's also an aspect of health and wellness that I think is really overlooked, and that people don't they don't lean into it for asking for support. But it's necessary when you're going through, especially during a time like this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to us. So everybody, how to get in touch with Lexi. She has all her information. Please go support her website, check out her blogs, get some good recipes. Since you're inside, a lot of times now, this is a good time to experiment and pretend that you're on Top Chef.
Yes.
And get in the kitchen and do all the things. And then I also find too, during this time period too, a lot of people are tapping into their creative side. So picking up a journal, some calligraphy pens, some paint, glue, magazines, make collages, like really in and take care of yourself in a very artistic way is always lovely and pushes you forward to do great things. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you, everybody. Make sure you reach out to us and say hi, leave comments below, and we'll love to hear from you. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for having me on, Angela.
Of course.